Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super Fantify. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Apocalypse Bringer, Mynoghra, Season 1, Episode 9. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I love that we open with Atu playing the mother role, which is very pertinent to this episode. Basically, she's chastising the Brain Eaters, Karia and Maria, as well as Takuto, because for her, it's like, you spent all that time monitoring them. In fact, you were slacking off from your actual proper work to keep eyes on them, and yet you still let them run amok and do that. He's like, well, I didn't want them to hate me, so I just kind of let them do whatever they want. And it's like, you know, and then the girls try to hide like the bloody clothes they were wearing, and she's like, it's too late, I've already seen it. And you guys over there, they're like, yeah, she's like, I heard you skinned those guys alive in front of the mayor. And it's like, yeah, we got this human skin. And she's like chastising them. In fact, she has all of them, all 6 of them, sit down and write out kind of basically apology things. Because he's like, yeah, Takuto's like, I guess, you know, the brainjackers were like of a bad influence on the girls. And she's like, no, those girls went and happily basically sicked those brainjackers on those people. So it's like, yeah, it's more the other way around, that they're kind of the bad influence. And even Takuto's like, yeah, I guess we should have taught them a little bit better about kind of like things like that. Because she specifically was like, I basically had you guys run down and let you guys know what basically how to have at least some level of decorum and decency before you left here, and you went off and did that in another territory. Because obviously I get it from Atu's perspective. It's like, I have to play, she says it herself, like, I have to play the scolding mom while you get to be the cool dad who just lets everything slide. But I also get the larger conversation too, because it's like, they are literal representatives of Mynoghra. Luckily, like, the mayor, despite being afraid, kind of is okay with things, but that can complicate things in the future, because she's going to be coming from a place of fear rather than just being like cool with Mynoghra. She's going to be more fearful. So I get it. Like, they were the literal representatives of Takuto, so it makes sense. So kind of starting off on a bad foot. So they all have to like write reports and apologies. And then we have the meeting where like he's handing out candy to the girls, and Atu has to scold him again. It's like, you three focus. And it's like, it's okay. The rest of the squad is like, it's okay. I think it's like both Gia and Emil are like, it's okay, you can just, I get where you're coming from, but it all worked out in the end, and it's just, here we are, so let's focus on the next meeting. So, but basically, based on a report that the twins brought in, they kind of help the group in their totality recognizes the faltering lines for Dragonton and their defenses, and basically their people are so worn out that Beastkin should be more keen and have heightened senses to let them know when danger's coming, but they're so worn out and worn down that they're not noticing. And obviously, like, what was it? I think it was goblins and orcs, but was it the hill giants are the bigger issue? That it's like, there's a few here and there, but and then like on some days it's more than like a dozen that come on a daily basis. So they're getting hit hard. So we're going to have to send someone out. Initially, Gia's like, oh, me and the warriors will go. But it's like, no, we need to keep you guys here. Because if you guys go, people who are just kind of handling the agricultural side of things will have to act as the defense here. And then construction and agriculture will falter. So we can't have that happening. So Atu is basically going to lead the charge. Motair, as well as his disciples, will all kind of back her up as well. But Atu has been like the main line of defense here back at Mynoghra, so who's going to handle that? And so it actually comes down to Takuto being like, I've got Isla, the preparations are ready, we've got all the things we need to produce to make her. And obviously from the Dark Elves perspective, it's like, oh my God, he planned everything ahead. He's like, I didn't. It is pure coincidence. But this is one of those instances where I do have to play the role of the all-seeing, all-knowing king. So he's like, yeah, I totally knew what was going on. And he praises everyone because he's like, from playing the game, you don't really get much from that. I mean, there's probably not a means in the game for you to morale boost your people. But, being here now, it's like, oh, I get to like morale boost you guys, say some words of encouragement to boost up morale. But yeah, they end up summoning Isla because initially it's like, okay, so what are we going to do if like Isla doesn't serve them? Because they brought it up a couple episodes back that one of the reasons why Isla was like the preferred person, not only is she the more defense orientated hero fighter, but it's protector, but it was more so like some of the other dark aligned heroes that Takuto could summon might not like gel with how his very laissez-faire approach to Mynoghra. They might not like that, so they're more of a headache to deal with. Eventually they'll have to deal with them, but for now it's like we don't need them now, so why put ourselves through dealing with that headache? And I'm sure like you're gonna probably need more extensive like things like to help produce the hero, like, so like any game, like the higher quality like the weapon or armor or whatever it is that you're trying to like synthesize or make, you're going to need like rarer ingredients. So it's probably going to apply the same for those heroes as well. Because we got to see some of like, it seemed like a whole bunch of food and some like lumber and stone seemed to all be like necessary components to make Isla. But Atu's coming from the perspective of, if we can't trust her and she ends up being bad, I'll stand in the way, like I'll deal with her. Which even Takuto's like, I can't resummon you, so don't ever put yourself like in unnecessary danger, because if you die, I can't be able to bring you back. And it would devastate him to lose Atu. But either way, they summon Isla, and it seems like she's immediately like, oh, it's an honor to meet you, my lord. But then eventually she realizes like, oh my god, Takuto, yes, I remember you. And it's so interesting because this episode confirms like, I had brought it up in previous episodes. I was so curious if anyone would ever start seeing Takuto the way Atu sees him, as just himself and not that shadowy being, the king of ruin everyone else sees. But it seems like Isla sees him that way too, because she, much like Atu, has memories of Takuto playing games. It's interesting. There's a little bit of a, obviously it drops on the same day, so that's why it's on my mind. But Gachi Ikuta, the whole like element of like vital instruments, like the more attachment you have to them, that's how vital instruments become vital instruments. And bringing out the worth of them is your connection to them and stuff like that. So Takuto's like that with anything prior to the game, because I think that's why, like, because he, this game was probably his escape from, like, his, whatever his circumstances were in the hospital. This game acted as his escape, and he became so attached to these characters, and he treated them so nicely that for them it's like, oh my god, I remember you. You were so neat to me. You were so nice to me. You were so precious towards me. You brought out my full potential. We stuck together through all our adventures while you were playing the game. So that connection exists here. So they have all the memories of that. And so for Atu, it's like, I do remember you. In fact, she's like, oh, I remember you too. Not Atu, sorry, Isa, but it applies to Atu as well. But Isa's like, oh, I remember you, Atu. You're Lady Atu. You're King Takuto's absolute favorite. It's like so adorable because, like, as I was bringing up earlier about Atu playing the mother role, Isla really steps into the mother role this episode. The way she's like comforting everyone, has that, obviously, like the voice actress's performance comes from the very like, I can be the stern but doting and loving mother. Like, the voice acting is giving off that energy as well. And even Atu's like, come on, stop it, knock it off, Isla. Like, embarrassing me like that, And so they give her a rundown of how everything's operating. And she's like, okay, I understand my role in all of this too, so... And then Atu and Takuto have to say their goodbyes for each other for a while, because this is the first time they've extensively been away from each other they're going to be away from each other for a longer period of time. I mean, she was away fighting for a little bit, but she was still relatively close enough to the forest. Even like when she went out to meet Pepe and them like a couple episodes back, once again, not too far out, but this is like, I'm going all the way to Dragonton myself, and we'll be away from each other for days on end potentially. So, and them both kind of, because they have not been properly away from each other since they both came to this world, and it's just kind of like them like, say, oh, Takuto, oh, Atsu, and hugging each other. It's so sweet. because he's like, yeah, I wouldn't have been able to get this far without you. And Atu's like, oh, but I wouldn't have gotten this far without you as well. And it's just like, you guys are so stinking cute, to the point that even he's like, oh my god, this is so adorable. I can barely watch it. So they Moltaire, his disciples, and Atu leave, and I love her waving goodbye, like bye, and she's walking a few more steps, turns around and kind of waves bye, and you can see how sad she is to leave. So Isla continues to play her mother role, where she has to basically get Takuto into shape. It's like, right, you got your people to look after, and what kind of king sleeps like past noon? Because Atu let him kind of do whatever she wants, even though she chastised him in the earlier episode, because that was kind of about like the greater, like, once again, his dropping his eye on the ball in that particular situation has a greater effect, because it led to like the twins and the brain eaters doing what they did. But like on a daily basis, like Atu's willing to do any and everything for for Takuto. I'll be your voice. I'll be the one that talks to the people, so you don't have to get too nervous about it. I'll handle everything. She wants him to just relax and do whatever he needs to, while maintaining the image of the kingly self. And so it's actually between Atu and the twins that wake Takuto up when he's like going a little late. And so she's like, all right, so you need to present yourself more kingly going forward. And she goes out with the twins to kind of get a better lay of the land. And it's like, right, here's ML, so you're going to have to like talk to her. And Takuto, being a nervous wreck, it's like, all right, first time I'm having a proper one-on-one conversation without Atu being the buffer between me. So it's like a one-on-one conversation. So he talks to her about like, now that they produced Isla, they can reassign people that were kind of offsetting some of their resources towards that, put them in other facets and other things that need help. Then Gia immediately comes in afterwards. And then I love Emil is kind of stressed out because Gia keeps breaking equipment and it's causing their budget to go well beyond its limit. And she goes and cuddles with Isla, and Isla hugs her and is like, it's okay, and also watch that foul language, no need for that. And she's like, I will get Gia back into place. So when he's destroying equipment, she pats him on the head. It's like, right, that we'll go back to counting inventory. That type of like brashness is very childish. And he's like, come on, lady Isla, like, you're embarrassing me, and everyone's respect for me is going to go down. It's like, once again, wasn't expecting her to play the motherly role that she was in this. That's such a neat little thing of like that being her character. I thought that's so sweet, and it just puts a big smile on my face because I think it's so adorable. And so, especially when we really like have her, and it adds context to the ending where we have like one of the things is the twins and Isla, and now it makes more sense like why that's a thing, because she's a motherly figure for the entire Mynoghra, but also specifically for the twins, because like they were actually feeling a little left out because she's head patting everyone. It's like, oh, we have a communal that get together to have food, and they have like a special table for her. But she's like, no, I'm gonna sit here because my job is to protect this nation, to protect this people. So I want to eat with all of you. Like, we're in this together, And then the twins, feeling like they're missing out on some of that love and attention and head pats, end up making special dishware for her. They're like got insignias on them just to be like hers, and she's promising to keep them for as long as she's alive. It's just really sweet and beautiful, and she embraces the twins. And later on, when she's kind of like setting up their defenses, she hears them crying, and obviously it's like, from time to time, they dream about their mom, and it's just like the good times that they had. But it's just that rude awakening of when you wake up, you realize like, oh, those aren't real, or even if they're memories. But then there's also like, oh, my mom's not around for those things to be real, so they were just me dreaming. And it's a little heartbreaking, and obviously it makes it so that Karia can't go back to sleep, and Maria decides to like, no, I'm gonna stay up with my sister to make sure she's okay. But I think it's sweet what they say, like, with everything that's going on, they have gotten a lot better and feel okay, that the dreams are far and few between. In fact, this is the first time they've had those like nightmares in a very long time, so they feel good. And it's like, okay, how about I remedy this? Like, you guys will sleep with me and embrace my me with come into my bosom, and then that's how we'll sleep from now on. It's like, it's kind of sweet. Like, she's obviously can't replace their mom, but having that comforting figure in their life kind of doesn't fill that hole, but it's, it gets their heart beating, I think, again in a similar way as like with their mom. So I'd like to believe that their mom would co-sign Isola playing that motherly figure for them. So some of the other facilities they're building now was like a learning facility, because I think it was, I can't remember if it was Claudia or Mario has suggested they want to, I mean, they both agreed to it, but one of them had suggested they want to learn so they can be more of use and help to Takato. So it's kind of neat. So like that's going to help them out in the long run. Obviously preparing themselves, because they don't need to really lean into the defensive nature of things yet, because they haven't really gone to war with anybody. But on the other flip side of things, we didn't spend much time with like their side of the episode, but upon them leaving, but we end the episode with the Takato getting a look at what's going on with Atu. She's outside the gates of Dragonton while enemies are approaching. She's got a big sword by her side, so that's going to be interesting, as she's kind of preparing for what's to come. So I'm excited to see what the next episode has in store for us. We're hitting the last 3 episodes of the season. I just looked it up to confirm there's only 12 episodes for this, so I'm curious to see what ends up happening in that time frame. What in particular happens next episode. I wonder, will we cut back a little bit to see what Atu and the others are up to upon coming to Dragonton? We'll probably get a better view of how the mayor interacts with people from Mynoghra going forward. Or will we just straight up pick up where the episode left off with Atu? We'll have to wait to see. Obviously, there's other threats that haven't necessarily made their way to them yet, because they're still like playing the resource game and gathering up and expanding. Like I said, they're not really looking too much on the offensive front, except in regards like this where they need to, but they haven't really like bothered fully bolstering their defenses, because they're not planning to go to battle. But once again, we have the was she a nun or a priest we met earlier in the season, and then there's still the witch from up north that still has to be contended with, but we haven't circled over to that. So they may not be threats at this point in the story of what the season's going to cover, because this might be all we get. We'll have to wait till the end of the season to probably get clarification on that, but those storylines will probably be future storylines that the light novel obviously is covering or has covered, depending on where the story is currently with the light novel. But those will probably be elements we might not touch on at all, considering we've only got 3 episodes left, but we'll see. But either way, I've run my mouth off long enough. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, full of light to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.